what is up, and welcome back to 24 Minutes of A24, the podcast that takes a look at the A24 library 24 minutes at a time. I am Ethan Simi.
And I'm Ben Lawhorn. This week on the pod, we are traversing Australia and trying to find our car as we talk about the Rover.
When I wrote that logline in the notes, all I thought of was, dude, where's my car?
Yeah,
and I just kind of wanted to put that in there.
Like, dude, where's my car?
Kind of the moral of the Rover, actually, which is really funny.
Yeah.
10 years after a global economic collapse, a hardened loner pursues the men who stole his only possession, his car. Along the way, he captures one of the thieves' brother, and the duo form an uneasy bond during the dangerous journey. This is not a mother-daughter movie. This is not a mother-son movie. This is not an adult and child film. We're on to hardened shit now, and I'm quite frankly really happy to be out of that sad valley.
Yeah, it's nice that no one in this that we know of had like a terminal disease or anything like that. That was just going to be the end of them. There were plenty of people who met their end, but yeah, this was a nice switch from what we've been watching for the last month or so. Yeah,
I agree. It's really exciting, and I do think it is going to be a breath of fresh air in between last week's pod of Janet Planet, very moving movie, and then we have Sing Sing next week that we're doing, and that is a whole different level of like emotional encumbrance as well. Yeah. So this is nice. We are talking about The Rover. Came out in 2014, directed by David Michaud, who did one of your faves, Animal Kingdom. Yeah. You're a big David Michaud guy.
Yeah, I surprisingly, this is the only thing I've seen, or Animal Kingdom was the only thing I'd seen. So I was super stoked to watch this. But I love Animal Kingdom, and anyone that's listened to this pod has probably heard me talk about it.
I think you've been trying to get me to watch Animal Kingdom for like probably more than a year at this point, right?
For sure. Yeah, without a doubt.
It's never crossed my mind. I don't know, quite honestly.
What's the trade-off here?
The trade-off is probably that I stop buying movies. Like I just got Furiosa in the mail today, and I will be watching that for a third time tonight. So
perfect.
Instead of taking the advice,
me watching Grease or something like that. That's what I was wondering.
Do you want to do a trade? We could do a trade.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if there's a trade here. I don't know.
I'm all for it, but
it'd be kind of fun. Mix it up.
I think that would be kind of fun. That might be what it takes. David Michaud also directed The King with Timothée Chalamet and another Robert Pattinson collaboration as well. And then he is the director of an upcoming A24 movie, Wizards, which we don't know anything about. We don't know. I don't know anything about it. I couldn't find out anything on IMDb either.
No, it's just it's listed on the wiki as a 2024 release. At least I believe it's still 2024. Who knows? See,
not looking ideal. We got like 3.5 months left, and A24 is really kind of starting to pump the calendar.
They're also kind of like, hey guys, this movie's coming out in 2 weeks, you know, like, so they may just like drop it on us out of nowhere. It'll be in the theater for like 3 days. Then it's like, all right, well, we released it. So who knows?
That's 1,000,000% true. They're like, yo, next week on VOD, check out our new movie. Yeah. And it's like, oh, I thought you guys were A24. Like I thought you were the prestige distributor.
Yeah.
The Rover is 1 hour, 43 minutes long, stars Guy Pearce and Robert Pattinson. We'll do a little bit of a deep dive on Guy Pearce because I have thoughts on him. Good, positive thoughts. I have 2 pieces of housekeeping for A24 to talk about. Not on the notes, but I wanted to ask you. We both got our scratch-offs for A24. Did you win anything on your scratch-off?
I did. I got the Triple Marcel, I believe. I got the $10 off one, whichever one that was. I believe it was Marcel, but I'm not positive.
$10.
So, yeah. What about you? Did you get grand prize? You get $2,400? No.
I wish. I was actually feeling pretty good. I was like, oh, I got my scratch off a little later than most people. Like I'm feeling pretty good about getting a grand prize here, and I didn't win anything, which pretty depressing, pretty sad. I'm curious, and I'm gonna look it up as we're talking. Speaking of $10, I did just this morning, literally not even kidding you. Just this morning broke my After Sun mug. I put it on my knee scooter. I'm rolling around on a knee scooter at work because I have another week in a hard cast for my torn Achilles. And I put it on my handlebar and I was like, this is great. Like I'll get back to my desk. Slid right off, right onto the ground, ceramic everywhere. And I was like, Well, that's pretty fucking depressing. Like that was my After Sun mug. So I'm gonna find out. Do you know if A24 still does movie mugs? Because you used to be able to just get a mug, a plain black mug for $10 with any movie title that they've made and the release date of that film.
I'm so curious because those were super popular.
Okay, so you can. So I'm looking right now and you can. Okay. The NMW employee mug from Beau Was Afraid is sold out. Damn it. That would have been really cool. So the A24 library mug, I know this is a slight digression. $15, but if you're an AA24 member, it's $13.50.
Okay.
You can, it's basically, it's just a plain black mug and it'll say the title of the movie and then the official release date of that film. It looks like they're
there's a ton
sold out of everything almost. So that's not ideal. Not looking like I'm getting my After Sun back.
No.
Wow.
Says, notify me. Is there anything?
Ginger and Rosa. We could get Ginger and Rosa. I'm moving on to the M through Z. This is riveting podcasting right now. It's just like, don't watch me do this. Instead, listen to me do it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like 4 movies in the A through L section. That's nuts.
Dude, that's crazy. Okay, cool. So I'm fucked. That's good. Great. That's awesome. Good. I can't wait to talk about a really great movie. Jesus Christ. Too bad, man.
Right.
Well, I was going to say you could use your $10 on that, but I don't know if you want a Ginger and Rosa mug. We haven't even talked about that pod. We're 159 episodes in.
I have no idea what that is, other than I think their first movie ever. But
I think so.
Yeah, Jeez. Nothing on the M through Z. That is crazy.
We gotta email them. We gotta get people to email them. We need these mugs back.
This can't be that hard to manufacture, right? Or are they just trying to make a limited edition?
Can't be. And you know what? Speaking of A24 mugs, when we signed up for AA24, you got a special like first member kind of thing, kind of mug. Great mug. Handle broke. So I don't know if this is a lesson in Ethan doesn't know how to use mugs or A24 needs to make higher quality mugs. I'm unsure.
You know, it could be a little column A, little column B. It's hard to say. It's hard to say.
A little bit of both.
Yeah, there is a Ladybird one on eBay for $30 plus $9 shipping. So that's where we're at.
Get the fuck out of it. $39.
That's where we're at.
What is going on? Wow, I should have sold that After Sun one. Okay, my actual pieces of housekeeping. A24 has announced the novelization of all 3 films from Ty West's X trilogy from author Tim Wagner. X is going to be published on September 24th. Pearl will be published on November 19th. Maxine will be published in early 2025. What do you think about this, Ben? I find this to be a very strange piece of news.
Yeah, it is very interesting. I like the look of some of their books. I assume it's kind of the same as like some of their other ones that they're doing or that they've done. But this seems like an interesting series to do. I guess the whole X trilogy is, I don't know. And I'm speaking as someone who still hasn't seen Maxine, so I can't, I can't speak to it like
I envy you
completely. But knowing Pearl was just like written while they were kind of in quarantine filming X, I was like, I guess you can make a novelization of it. I don't know. Do whatever you got to do.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to know. I think most of my interest comes from the novelization of Pearl because that is my favorite movie out of the trilogy. I wonder what that will be. Like, will we understand more about Pearl? Will we understand more about things in the world and the characters that were not talked about in the movie? I'm really interested in that. So I might pick up Pearl. I'm probably not going to pick up X, and I will absolutely not be purchasing Maxine.
No way.
I don't know. I just think it's a weird announcement coming off the heels of like Maxine being received so coldly.
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting aspect of it. You know, like it wasn't received in the sense that like a majority of people were like, oh man, they nailed the trilogy. Like, this is perfect. It's like, cool, let's do the novelization. This
great trilogy. Yeah.
Yeah, so it is an interesting decision without a doubt. But I'm curious how people will receive it. Like, I feel like Pearl will probably sell the most. I know I would buy the X one. I think that's still my favorite of what I've seen. But yeah, I think we'll get plenty of Maxine ones on clearance at some point.
Yeah, hit the Walmart clearance book bins.
They'll save my $10 for that. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Great question. How much are these books going to cost? What do you think?
Oof, I genuinely their pricing is so different because honestly, I would think their mugs would be more than $15, even though they're unavailable. But I always think it's gonna be more expensive. But we were kind of on the money with like the Love Lies Bleeding stuff. We did pretty good.
We nailed that merch price point.
Oh, these gonna be like 30, 25, 30
bucks. Well, I kind of picture them. I think the picture that kind of like came out with this news, they appear to be like purposefully old-fashioned paperback books is kind of like what my idea is, and I don't know if I'm making that up or what. But I can't see them costing more than like $25, you know?
Yeah, I mean, same, but like the screenplay books are $60.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, it just depends on how in depth I guess they are.
Yeah, I'm really curious. I guess they kind of look like they're hardcover, but again, like they're not in line with what A24 generally will make. Very curious. Huh. And I wonder if they'll only be sold. Well, I guess not because they're being published at different times, but I would bet that once Maxine is going to release, they will probably do a box set with some kind of special something with it. Like they're really going to milk this Maxine merch for like 18 months, it seems. Which kind of fucking sucks because the movie is bad. And I wish that the movie was good so I could be in on this stuff.
Which Maxine poster did you get in your zine?
I got Kevin Bacon, which I'm actually
nice.
I'm pretty thrilled about. He was my favorite part of Maxine.
That's cool. I got Mia Goth, so
oh man, that's pretty good too, though.
Yeah, not too bad. But I'm leaving Zac Efron up there. No one's gonna replace him.
Yeah, that's fair. I was gonna say I don't think anything will take Zac down.
Yeah.
I did see a screenshot of the Iron Claw going around Twitter the other day, and I was like, oh fuck, better not watch that movie again.
Seriously.
Too good. One other piece of A24 housekeeping: Dominic Sessa has been cast as Anthony Bourdain in the biopic Tony for A24. Now, this biopic is coming from Matt Johnson, who is from the film Blackberry. He is also starring in a movie called Matt and Mara at TIFF, which I will be attending in a few weeks, which I'm really excited about. I have on my slate to check that movie out. This is like pretty awesome news.
I think it's really cool, actually. Like, I don't know who they could have cast that I like would have been, oh, this is fantastic, but I am excited to see him get this opportunity. Obviously, he was like great in The Holdovers. The Bourdain aspect of it is so interesting because he feels like someone that was very transparent with his life. It feels like we know a lot about Anthony Bourdain, so I'm kind of curious what this movie is going to show us that we don't already know about him. But, you know, I just jokingly, like, Dominic Sessa, get ready for chef school. You know, you got to get those knife skills down. Like, it's time because, you know, there's going to be some sort of montage and he's going to have to show he's got it. Got to.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for it, though.
He's going to be our new Carmy. He's going to, Carmy on the big screen is really how that's going to end up being.
I mean, for real, it's like what it's going to be. Like, get the fuck out of my kitchen. Like, you know, it's all it's going to be. It's going to be great.
Yeah. I don't really know a lot about Anthony Bourdain besides like the probably the most famous bits. I've always wanted to go back and like watch his shows and learn more about his life and like read things about him. And I just like never get around to it. So I am genuinely excited about this. I love Dominic Sessa and The Holdovers. Dominic Sessa has 3 movies coming up right now. One of them is Now You See Me 3, which I think is great for him to be in. I think him and Jesse Eisenberg will be a fascinating duo with the very similar hairstyles. One is called Oh, What Fun, directed by Michael Showalter of famed MCU projects, I believe. And the other is called Toe. And I don't really know about this movie. A true story of Amanda Ogle, a homeless Seattle woman who fought her way out of a tow company hell to reclaim her life and car after receiving a tow bill for $21,634. Speaking of getting cars back, you know?
Dang. Yeah, that sounds intense.
Also starring Rose Byrne, Simon Rex, Ariana DeBose, Demi Lovato, Octavia Spencer.
Okay.
Holy shit.
All right. Yeah, that's not bad at all.
I don't think it's an A24 movie, but I'm just saying, look at this
probably
cast.
Not, but that's good. Yeah, also if anyone wants, you know, maybe we do a A24 book club and we read Kitchen Confidential written by Anthony Bourdain.
Whoa.
Maybe we do that before Tony comes out because I want to read it. I would love an excuse to read it.
Dude, I'm so on board.
That'd be
brilliant
fun.
idea. Genius.
Did you know? I didn't know, but they did a TV series called Kitchen Confidential.
I feel like I knew about this.
I think like you might have because you know who starred in it.
Oh boy,
Mr. Bradley Cooper.
Oh well, in that case, we will be enjoying everything Kitchen Confidential.
1 season, 13 episodes. His character's name was Jack Bourdain. Inspired by Anthony.
No fucking way, dude. This is crazy. What? Every picture when you Google this is Bradley Cooper from like 25 years ago when he's like
2005, man, literally.
Hella weird.
Yeah.
Dang.
That's crazy. I'm very curious to see what the show's like now too.
That is fascinating.
Yeah, if you guys want us to do a book club, let us know. Let's do it.
Where can you even watch that show? Kitchen Confidential TV series. Where can you watch that?
I'm sure they're hiding it because like it must not be that great. But
I think you can watch it on Hulu. Hulu, it appears.
Okay, cool.
John Cho is in it? Okay. Wow, interesting. Yeah, let us know if you want us to do an A24 book club. I do think that would be really, really fun to prep for that. And, you know, maybe we keep our eyes peeled for any other A24 projects that would deem that. There is a big problem with that. I don't read, so we'll really have to take that in stride and figure out how we're going to manage
get you an audiobook. Yeah. Someone to read it for you.
That would be perfect. Now we're talking. Yeah. 2 cool pieces of news. Okay, let's talk about The Rover. A movie about guys trying to get a car back and becoming brothers / hunting down brothers / not having U.S. money to buy petrol.
Yeah. Having the Australian, what is Australian money? I don't even know what it is.
I have no idea.
Australian dollars, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, do we just want to jump into it? Like, should we?
Yeah, I think it's just it is just Australian dollars. It looks really cool. So yeah, I don't know. That's about it. But let's jump into it. But speaking of Australian dollars, I am curious. I have here on the notes, and I want to ask you about this. There's a scene in the film, and we'll get to it. Mm-hmm. But Australian dollars, no good in the economic crisis. Why do you think that is? We never learned anything about it.
No, and it's interesting that the U.S. dollar apparently still holds its value. So very curious. One of those things where it's like, well, what does this like wasteland mean? You know, like this post-apocalyptic almost breakdown that the world seems to have had, or at least Australia.
That's my point.
Yeah.
It could just be a localized Australia economic crisis.
Yeah, it's true. And I don't know. I think that might be the thing that makes the most sense. They still get those American dollars. Yeah,
I think I genuinely think the Australian dollar is not worth anything. And so you got to use U.S. dollars. I want to put a pin in that and come back to that scene because I have many more questions about that. But what did you think of The Rover? But a movie that neither of us had really ever even heard of before putting it on the schedule.
I had no clue about it other than just like looking up David Michôd's like history, but I didn't watch the trailer. I went into this like pretty blind actually.
Me too.
I just wanted to go in and see exactly what it was going to give me. I had a good time with this movie, and I will say that like this is one of those instances where the final 5 minutes probably punched it up like at least half a grade for me. I was just like, oh shit, that's what it was the whole time. Like, yeah, that's crazy. You know, like it really kind of floored me. I mean, we'll get into spoilers and all that kind of stuff, but I liked it. I thought this is an interesting choice for Robert Pattinson. I think this was his first thing after finishing the Twilight series. So
interesting.
This was
so
his
like
first
a hard
movie
market correction.
Yeah, right. Like he's like, all right, I got all this like capital from Twilight. I'm just gonna do what I want now. I'm going to Australia and I'm playing someone who's, you know, not performing fully functioned. You know, like you know, a little slow. And I thought his performance was interesting. Guy Pearce, I think, is always good. Like I can't think of anything I've seen him in that I didn't like him in. He's also great in Animal Kingdom. But yeah, I liked it. I thought it was an interesting idea. like the poster says, like what do you do when you're facing someone who has nothing to lose? And I think Guy Pearce really conveyed that throughout this. It's like, oh, this guy doesn't give a shit about anything other than getting his car back. Like that's the one thing, and he'll do whatever it takes to do that. So I don't know. I thought it was interesting. I think they did a great job of, like, I felt like I was there. It felt kind of visceral. Like they did a good job of making me feel like the arid, dry landscape, just everything that was going on. And just the way the economy was functioning, like those, the guys like just buy something when he goes into that store to ask them questions. Like, listen, man, if you're going to be in here, you have to buy something. I'm not going to answer anything unless you buy something from me.
Yep.
Which I thought was, I think he just did a great job of conveying this stuff. Is this his directorial debut? I don't want to get off topic, but
I feel like it is. I don't know. I looked it up earlier. Maybe you can verify, but I was just going to quickly speak to Robert Pattinson because he does do the Twilight saga. So he does Twilight, he does New Moon, he does Remember Me, and then he does Twilight Eclipse, and then he does Water for Elephants, Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 1. He throws Cosmopolis in there, a couple things, and then he does Twilight Saga Breaking Dawn Part 2. So he is in Twilight for 4 years, pumping out like 5 or 6 movies. And then you're right, he does the Rover 2 years after the final Twilight movie. And then he goes on to do a few movies in between. He does The Lost City of Z, Good Time, High Life, The Lighthouse, The King. He starts getting into like some more adult dark things after Twilight. So to his credit, he did a really good like Robert Pattinson market correction on himself of like, I'm not the Twilight guy anymore. I can actually do a lot of things. And obviously now, famed for the Batman. He's phenomenal in Tenet. He's got the Batman Part 2, Part 3, Mickey 17, like tons of massive projects coming up. And it's wild to think that it really ultimately stemmed from like Twilight, and then the Rover was the pivot.
Yeah, it's interesting. That was the decision that he made. Like he wasn't like a child actor necessarily like Daniel Radcliffe or anything, but he was definitely like the Twilight dude.
Speaking of Daniel Radcliffe, I mean,
talk about a course correction. Yeah.
You love to see it.
Fire. Yeah, exactly. So this was an interesting move on his part. I think he was good. I feel dumb for asking if it's his directorial debut because Animal Kingdom came out before this. And he had a movie before that called Solo. I think it's like the bare bones aspect of it that made me think it came out earlier than it did. Like it's a 2014 film. It's only 10 years old, but to me, it comes across as like a 2006 film of just like someone who's trying stuff,
Yeah, it really does.
So I was surprised, but I still to his credit, I really enjoyed it. I thought he did a good job with it. It's a whole different, you can't compare it to Animal Kingdom. You know what I mean? It's a whole different movie. Like it's a bare bones kind of cast and purpose. It's just like man has car stolen, man retrieves car. Like that's kind of it. You know what I mean? And then like it's just like the hijinks along the way basically is what it is here. But I think it successfully told that story.
I totally agree with you, and I echo everything you said. I just quickly want to go on one little thing because I'm watching the teaser for the movie that I just clicked on IMDb, and I can't not say what this is.
Okay.
Speaking of David Michôd, so David Michôd makes The Rover in 2012, which I agree with you, 2014, which like does not feel like a 2014 movie, kind of at all, which is a really fascinating aspect of this. He then does a movie 3 years later called War Machine. Have you ever heard of this movie?
Brad Pitt, right?
Brad Pitt, directed by David Michôd, obviously. A Netflix original movie, which I find really interesting because he gets a bag from Netflix, presumably, to make this, unless Netflix acquired it. Also starring our sad boy, John Magaro.
Oh, really?
Topher Grace, Daniel Betts, and it's got... I'm blanking on his real name, but Connor from Succession, your boy from Ferris Bueller. Yeah, it's got Alan Ruck, and it looks kind of Adam McKay-ish, which is strange.
Yeah.
I'm really fascinated by David Michôd's career as well. This is really crazy.
And then to go and do The King after this, like
another Netflix film, right? Another he finds kind of his bank to make movies, and brings Pattinson back, and then tonally seems to revisit more of the Rover, and instead of War Machine. I liked the Rover quite a lot. I thought it was really good, and I agree with you. It's like it's really good, or it's good, and then you get the last 5 or 10 minutes, and then you're like, oh, this is actually really good. Like I got it now, and they figured it out. Like I said, I kind of just echo everything that you said. I think it's a really enveloping movie, and it being only an hour 43, I think is really smart. The settings and the sequences are really effective, especially the opening 10 minutes when we do see the car theft, because it is such an effective hook to be like, you start out, I don't give a shit about Guy Pearce and his character. He's just in a bar 10 years after the crisis, I think is like what it says. So like, you don't really know anything, or it says 10 years after economic collapse or whatever it is. You don't really know a whole lot. And then you're just like toting with this guy who's just like presumably really depressed or angry and drinking. And then his car gets stolen, and then he immediately proceeds to pursue the car. And you're like, oh, well, I'm locked in, because like, what the fuck is going to happen now? And you just and you just do it for 100 minutes, which I think is really cool. So yeah, I think this is a good movie. I think it is a massively underrated A24 movie. Like I don't know a single person outside of my Letterboxd mutuals that have watched this or talked about this or even heard of this movie.
No, exactly. I mean, you and I are prime examples of that though too. You know, it's just like, crazy. I have no idea what this movie is. And now that I've seen it, it's like, I need more people to see this. Cause like, I think, like you said, it is very underrated.
And it's really, to me, the kind of movie where you can really build the argument. And I know it came out 10 years ago now, which is crazy, but you can build the argument of like, these types of movies are the backbone of the film industry, because it's like, it's not a fantastic movie. It's not a life-changing movie, but it is a damn good movie. And like, everybody should see this movie. And so like, it doesn't have to be this epic, crazy, everything everywhere all at once type situation for it to be good within the A24 catalog. I have a few general questions for you. Number one, would you survive in Australia after the collapse? Do you, because we are 10 years after the collapse. So our guys are striving out here.
I don't know that I could survive in Australia now. You know what I mean? Like, I have no idea. Yeah. So no, definitely not after the collapse. Like looking at what they're putting up with and stuff is just like, no, I couldn't do it. That's way too rough.
I can't, knowing the size of spiders over there. Yeah, I would default to, I'd rather just die. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Let me swim to New Zealand or something. I don't know. Get me out of here.
Terrible. So yeah, I agree with you. Would not survive after the collapse. What are the character backgrounds for Eric and Ray? So Eric would be Guy Pearce's character. Ray is Robert Pattinson's character. We learn a little bit about Eric and like his past and kind of what has maybe driven him to this moment. Ray, we don't really know a whole lot about, except for the fact that you can definitely see some beginning blossoms of the narrative in Good Time in this, and how like you can use your maybe less well-rounded brother to take advantage of and to take advantage of him and things and get things done. He's like in a military base that we find him at. What's his story?
I don't know. And like, I know you could go back on certain episodes here and I get frustrated with like, just give me a little more. Like I need something more or whatever. But this is one of those instances for me where it's just like, great. I don't need to know anything about them. You know, it's like, cool. Tell me less. Like this guy just wants his car back. That's it. Like, awesome. I'm on board.
Sometimes
Let's
that's
get this
all you
fucking
need.
car
That's
back.
the genius of it.
And that's why this worked for me so well. Because I'm like, yep, we're going to get this fucking car. Like, I don't know what else is going on. I don't know if this guy has like siblings. I don't know if he has a wife, a kid, or anything like that. You know, it's just like, I just know that this man needs to get his car back and we're going to do that.
Speaking of it, it makes me think of an upcoming movie called Flight Risk. Have you heard of this movie with Mark Wahlberg? So it's got Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the trailer. I don't really know much about it. I just know that the poster, the tagline is "Y'all need a pilot." And you just like sparked like the greatest tagline for the Rover would be like, "Let's get my fucking car back." And it's like, seriously. Oh, I'm so locked in.
That's it. That's all it is.
I
love it.
A genius idea for movies. So Flight Risk, probably going to be an A1 movie, honestly. Mark Wahlberg is back. That's what I'm thinking.
Are you trying to avoid the trailer or you just haven't happened to see it yet?
No, I just haven't happened to see it. I just,
okay.
You know, I hold Mark a little too close to my heart with Boogie Nights.
Yeah.
So I really have to be careful with what Mark indulgences I enjoy. Of course, The Departed being a very special place as well, but I just haven't seen the trailer. Have you seen the trailer?
I have, yeah.
Oh, really?
This man is no Dirk Diggler. He looks so different, and I'm excited for you to watch it at some point.
Damn it. Okay. It's probably fired up right now. Be a live trailer.
I was going to say, if we weren't on a time crunch, then I'd be like, let's just get a live reaction of you watching this trailer.
Do it right now. I think you're right. We don't really need to know more about Ray. I could have liked maybe like 60 more seconds of like just Ray explaining like why he was there, like what his brother did. There is talk about like they were there for the mines to like work in the mines. And that's interesting enough, but it maybe just like a tad more would have been good. Yeah. Australia as a movie setting, overrated, underrated?
I think pretty well rated. I think it is interesting that like they could just be in Australia and go to parts of it that make it look like it's been 10 years past the crisis happening.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, no, this is just what it looks like on its own right now. Like there's no set design done, you know, like this is just what it is. So I think it's pretty effective as a location.
Yeah. As far as we know, Australia is in a collapse because we got Furiosa, we got Mad Max, we got the Rover. Like oddly suspicious that all of these films are taking place in Australia.
Seriously. Yeah. Without a doubt.
I think it's underrated, if anything, to be honest. I think more movies should be in Australia.
Yeah, it's underutilized.
Underutilized, yeah, for sure. Okay, let's do true cinema. Let's walk through the movie. I mentioned how we start out with the car theft. Guy Pearce's character of Eric parks his car and enters a bar and is just there. And then you see this car with three guys that are, you know, and it's very similar to... what's the name of Free Fire? It's very similar to Free Fire that we covered a couple months ago here, where it's like you just get introduced to guys in a car who are fleeing from something happening, which is always intriguing. And they flip over their car because they start bitching at each other, and then they steal Eric's car, and then he figures out how to start up their truck, and he just follows them. I love this opening.
I thought it was fantastic, and I loved how realistic it seemed of him. Like, it looked like the car that got rolled over was almost high centered on something, and they like couldn't get out. And we just sit there and we stay with Guy Pearce as he just like rocks the car back and forth. You know, put it in drive, let's go. Put it in reverse, let's go. Like, you know, the Austin Powers, you know, thing a little bit, but it's fun just to see him like make it work. How determined this guy is, and like you said, it's a great intro. Just like, all right, this dude has one mission in mind. Like these guys crossed the line, and now we're going to go on this like kind of car chase a little bit. It was great.
Yeah. Pseudo car chase. Do you think that during the collapse, I just am curious, do cars get stolen often? Because it seems like Guy Pearce doesn't really take the necessary precautions to make sure his car doesn't get stolen.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem like they do, I guess. You know, maybe that was a thing that happened for a while, but he doesn't seem that concerned with that happening. Obviously, it's like a weird occurrence that takes place in order for someone to steal his car. Otherwise, I don't think anyone would have taken it. You know, if he had just gone to the bar and just had his drink, like everything would have been fine.
Yeah,
but,
sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
It just takes a couple of guys getting shot and then yelling at each other to fuck off to steal the car. Next on the list is Eric getting the guns. So we do get like kind of a pseudo chase a little bit, pseudo car chase, which is really fun because it is so cat and mouse, and it's really awesome to watch him because we don't know anything about him. So we don't know how far he's willing to go to get his car back. And it's like so much potential and opportunity. He then goes and he kind of like finds a house, very odd house, where there's one grandma eliciting little boys for explicit activities, we'll say, which is really creepy and weird. And then there's a guy who sells him guns. Did you know that the gun dealer was going to get his head popped?
At some point, yeah, I was like, I don't know, this is a man that carries around $300 US. Like, and I was like, this is really dumb just to let someone load a gun that they're looking at. Like, I think there's a reason that they give people unloaded guns when they're selling them. Like this is not going to end well for this guy, unfortunately.
As soon as they went out together, and as soon as Guy Pearce was like, I don't have 300 US, I was like, oh, cool. He's just going to kill him. Like that's cool. And I knew it was coming. And it's still, when it happened, I literally covered my mouth and I was like, oh, fuck. Like he did it.
It worked.
Blew his head off and it worked. And like, so, and I think that is a really smart thing that the movie does, is like it gradually escalates how far Guy Pearce is willing to go to get his truck back. And so like now he's murdered somebody. And he has a gun. And it's like, oh, wow. Okay, this is real. Like, we're doing this now. Like, we're entering pseudo Mad Max territory where it's like, we'll just do whatever it takes. Next on the list, they drive to a doctor in the hills because Ray and Eric meet. And they drive to a doctor in the hills. And this is after Eric has to buy something from the shop, which I think is hilarious. He just picks a random thing off of the shelf and just like, so... like disconnectedly buys it, which is really funny. The guys that he buys the gun from show up to the doctor's house. There's two vehicles. They kill one of the residents that live in this home. And then Eric, Guy Pearce's character, shoots them all with a rifle from the window. Pretty awesome to first get the point of view of Eric shooting them, and then to get the point of view of like there's one survivor left and now we're looking into the house and then he dies. That caught me by surprise and I thought it was really effective.
This is maybe the only part where I was just like, how is he so good with a rifle? You know, it's like, fair. What's his background here? Like, does he have some military or something like that? Because I didn't disbelieve it. I just wanted to know. Like, I was just curious why. It didn't come across as like, oh, he couldn't do that. It's like, no, I bet this guy could. Because when you're 10 years post-crisis, you're probably training yourself in the survivalist mode. You know what I mean? So, like, I get it. But I was curious there. I was like, what is his background when it comes to firearms and things like that? Because he seems very comfortable.
Okay, you just gave me a theory, and I'm going to put it out there into the world right now. So I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. We're spoiling the Rover. This is the very end. So Eric mentions he gets captured by some military personnel. He does a very good job of stalling them until Ray is able to come and rescue him, essentially, and we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. But he mentions that he killed his wife and a different guy because he caught his wife cheating on him with another guy. Now, the fact that he knew that he could push certain buttons of this military guy in his operation to talk long enough to get Ray there does lead me to believe that he might stem from a military background, because that could be a very clear reason why he caught his wife with another man, is because he wasn't around, or he was working in the mines, or like whatever the military operation was around him at the time, he wasn't home. And so then that kind of blends his reasoning together. And it leads to a really interesting point, because Ray and Ray's brother and his kind of clan of people stem from the same background, but we have two people that have really divergent paths coming from a potential military background.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I hadn't really thought about that, but that totally tracks. I also, in that moment, didn't even think that he was waiting for Ray. I thought he had just genuinely given up and he was just like confessing everything. He's
Me
like,
too.
I'm done, you know? And then all of a sudden Ray shows up. So yeah, maybe he was like crossing his fingers that Ray would be there. But I really just thought like, oh, he's just given up. Like, he's like, this isn't going to happen. So I'm just going to confess everything.
I got a couple more bullet points before we get back to that scene. First, I wanted to mention Eric talking with Ray about his brother. This is kind of the slowest, most intimate moments of the film. and I think it is among some of the most important, because we really start to realize how Ray is being taken advantage of, and Eric's thought process on how he views the relationship with Ray, because it is kind of weird, and he does in some form or fashion also take advantage of Ray, but not in such like an egregious, is that the word? Or egregious way. And it's a fascinating conversation between them.
It really is. And I think it's interesting how Eric kind of opens up Ray's eyes maybe a little bit of like how he's getting treated by his brother. And that really, I think, then bonds them. And then we see that come to fruition at the end of the film. That dynamic between the brothers. But yeah, I thought this was like a very nice, quote unquote, nice moment between them, very slow moment, but it's just like, okay, he's willing to have this conversation with this kid and not just like write him off or anything. And it solidified their bond to me.
I love what Eric puts out there, and this is the first time we see it, and then he gets it back later in the movie, and he asks Ray, do you know this, or did your brother tell you this? Which I think is a really interesting kind of like audible deciphering of like, okay, Ray, like that I'm trying to help you might be being lied to, which is really interesting. And then the other bullet point, we kind of get like a shootout in this hotel, which kind of caught me off guard, because this comes directly after the conversation, a very slow, easygoing, safe moment between them. And it is where Eric kind of tells Ray, like, you need to fight. You need to fight for yourself. You need to stand up for yourself, and you need to change the way that you go about living. And so Ray goes into this hotel. He sees some military personnel driving around. So he thinks that he's being followed or going to be captured or whatever the case, because I assume whatever crime was committed there, they are after him and they know him. And he hears a knock on the door, and he then proceeds to shoot through the door. Tons of gunfire goes off. He manages to survive. He opens the door, and he's just shot a random little girl.
Yeah.
Pretty devastating scene.
It really messes him up, and rightfully, understandably so. You know what I mean? Like, it really messes with his head. But I think that then leads to, I think, another good conversation between him and Eric, where it's just like, I can't stop thinking about the little girl. It's like and I think Eric said something along the lines like, you never stop thinking about any of them.
It's the price you pay.
Yeah, it's the price you pay. And I thought that was such a good line and such a good moment between the two of them. But like, man, what a heartbreaking scene to see that he had shot. I think it's the motel owner's daughter or something like that. But yeah, it's devastating.
It of course does raise bigger questions of like, what's going on in the collapse? Like what happens after that? You know what I mean? Like, is there police presence around? Like, who knows? Not for us to know, I guess. We mentioned Eric getting captured by the army guys, confesses to killing his wife because and the way he describes it is so visceral. And I actually think it's really important the way that he describes it. And I won't repeat it, but it is really effective. And there are two instances, this being one and another one in the conversation that he has with Ray earlier in the movie, where he mentions he just says something along the lines of like, two people come out of the same woman's hole. It doesn't mean that you are brothers. Like, it doesn't mean that you respect each other, essentially that theme. Yeah. And so Eric's way of speaking, I find really abrasive and also really necessary. And this is when Ray comes and saves him. And I love this from Robert Pattinson because he's so fucking stoked. He's like, that was so easy. I just killed 3 guys. And it's hilarious to me.
It's so funny the way he's like recaps it. He's like, yeah, these 2 guys are just right here. So I just killed them. And then like, it's like, it's super easy. I parked the truck over here. Let's go. I'm like, yeah, man, you did it. Great job.
I dug a hole under this fence and that's how I got in. And it's just really funny. A great scene for sure. I just have a few more bullet points here. Buying petrol. I mentioned they try to buy petrol. The other question I had about this, and this is basically after all of this transpires, they're on a hunt for Ray's brother, and because Ray's brother is the same guy that stole Eric's car.
Yeah.
Ray buys not only petrol but bullets with a massive wad of US dollars.
Yeah.
Where did he get this money?
I mean, I don't know exactly, but he talks about it later in the movie too, that there's money in the house that they're going to, so
Mm-hmm.
it's like whatever these guys are doing, the US money is coming in. Because you're right, he has a wad and he just like unravels a $100 bill, I believe, because the gas is 50.
Yep.
And then he still gets $50 worth of like bullets and stuff like that. And the look on Guy Pearce's face too, is just like, what the fuck? You've had money the whole time, It's like it's kind of like the Dumb and Dumber. Like, you've had 2 pair of gloves this whole time. It's like you're telling me you've had like $1,000 US on you, and you're just like making me pay for shit. Like, it was pretty funny. I liked how it was run like a speakeasy too, where it's just like
so cool.
No one
they
goes
slip
in
the petrol
there.
through the door.
Yeah, it was really cool. I like that a lot.
It was really neat for sure. I love this moment. Ray humming Pretty Girl Rock in the car in the middle of the night. After all of this has transpired, when they are on the cusp of infiltrating and invading his brother's safe house, whatever you want to call it. They scope it out, they find it, and they're like, let's go in the morning. Very smart from Guy Pearce's character to be like, less violence in the morning, which I think economic collapse or not, probably a good rule to live by.
Yeah, 100%. They are not going to expect you in the morning. I think that was a great call. Obviously, for the most part, proved to be effective. But it's like, yeah, this guy, again, like maybe this speaks to like the military background kind of thing. It's just like he has this information. He knows this stuff.
He knows his stuff. And then we get the final bullet point that I have here, really the last like 15 minutes of the movie, kind of the house shooting. This is where they form a plan. They're going to hold these guys for ransom. I assume Eric on some level wants some of the money that's in the house and basically wants to teach these guys a lesson of like, don't fuck with me. Don't steal my car. And so he manages to get 2 guys that are in a different room. And one of them is an old guy that I think is just so crucial to the dynamic of this group in such a great way. Brings them out, sits them on the couch. Ray is in charge of the other room, which houses his brother and then the homeowner that they're renting from. We kind of have a standoff between Ray and Ray's brother, waving guns around. Ray obviously not capable of the stressors of this kind of a situation. And then gunfire goes off, and Eric obviously makes a very smart decision just to fucking pop the guys on the couch and not let him go away. And I think the last thing the old guy says is like, I got to go to the bathroom. And Eric's like, sit the fuck down. You're not going anywhere. And then he dies. And then everybody kind of dies, right? And then we get a really, really pivotal like final 2 minutes, but I want to save that real quick.
Yeah, the house sequence I think is done very effectively. It does again like kind of seem very tactical. Where he's like, I'm getting the 2 in the back, you get the 2 on the side. I wonder if he would have done it differently, knowing that was his brother that he was sending him to. But maybe that was intentional. I don't know. I think it would have gone very differently if he hadn't been assigned to take care of his brother.
I think so. Yeah.
I was also surprised they just don't make the 2 old dudes sleep in the same room together, because it's like there's like 2 dudes in their 30s and like 2 dudes that are like in their 60s or something like that. It's just like they split up. I'm like, cool, whatever, that's totally fine. But yeah, everything is done very well. Obviously, Ray kind of has a moment of stress and shoots his gun, but doesn't hit anything. And then instinctually, I'm assuming that's what it is. Like his brother shoots him and kills him. And man, it's a rough scene to watch, but I really enjoyed the cinematography behind Eric taking care of all the bodies.
I love that,
stacking them up on like that wood pile and stuff, and then that shot from behind as the flames are just like roaring. Like, oh man, it's a really cool shot.
Really, really sick. I love everything about this scene. It definitely feels we've earned our way to get there, and it feels like Eric made the right choice. And Eric being the last one standing is kind of badass, because it's like you did it. Like you did it. You outsmarted everybody. You also outlasted Ray, which is like kind of sad, but also like, I don't know, maybe we knew that was going to happen the whole time. We kind of had a feeling. And then we get kind of this, not really an epilogue, but it feels like a very brief epilogue.
For sure.
Where he's driving in his car and he opens up the trunk, and then his wife is in that trunk, right? Is it, or is it Ray?
Neither. You know what it is?
No.
It's his dog. That's what he was after the whole time, was his dog.
His dog was in the trunk. Well, wasn't it wrapped up?
Yeah, but we see the head like kind of.
I must have like blinked and missed it or something.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
As he's walking it to where the shovel is, like you see the dog's head kind of come down. Yeah, so it was his dog. And so like when I saw that, I was like, oh fuck, man, like that's amazing that this is what he was after the whole time. Because I think you're led to believe it's the wife. You know, he's like that's what's in the car. I've got to take care of this because I killed her. I need to take care of this body. All that kind of stuff. So I think you're led to believe that. And it's even kind of filmed that way initially where it's hidden kind of what's in there. There's obviously a body of some sort, but you don't know. But then, yeah, when he lifts it out and stuff, you see the dog's head. It's like, oh my God, like that's what he was after this whole time. Like he lost his best friend and he's just like been on a mission to get him back. Like, it just got me. I loved it.
I think it's really smart. And I think it is very Mad Max adjacent, obviously. And I think that is entirely on purpose. Man, his dog, wow, tough. You just opened up this movie for me. That's a wild one.
Yeah.
What would be your true cinema moment for the movie?
Oh man, my true cinema moment. I haven't even been thinking about it because I've just like enjoyed talking about it. But like I said, it was that you would never show it to anyone because you want them to experience it. But like I said, that final scene when all that takes place, it easily jumped up like a half grade for me. Just because then all of a sudden you get this context for the last 100 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh shit. Like that's what he was so passionate about. Like that's amazing that's what it was. So that's what I would go with. That's one that floored me the most.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good pick. I think it does open up like more questions of like, was he on his way to a specific spot? Was he trying to like gauge a spot and he just wanted to like pull over and have a drink? Like obviously depressed. The has to be rather newly transpired because like if he's going to bury it, lots of interesting questions that I think the movie does a good job of not answering. And I think that's a pro of the film. For me, my true cinema moment would be when he goes to buy the guns and the grandma is like, I'm not like, what's your name? And he is like, what's your name? Who are you? And she's like, what's your name? And he's like, I'm not going to answer that. What's your name? Where are these people? Where's the car? And they kind of have this big standoff. And more specifically, when he does go buy the gun and he blows the fucking guy's head off, because not only is it like super badass, but it is the moment where if you like weren't locked into the movie before, you're definitely locked in now because you're like, oh, this is serious. This is real. And like, he kind of doesn't fucking care about anybody else, which makes his and Ray's relationship extra interesting because he does care. Which I really, really liked. Okay. A1 Act, movies set in Australia.
Yeah.
You think Australia properly rated as a location?
Underutilized, but definitely properly rated. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I would agree with that. We'll see. Let's read through the list here. So obviously we have the Rover, Crocodile Dundee, the Mad Max franchise, of course, Mad Max, Beyond Thunderdome, Fury Road, Furiosa, any of those that you want to include. Gallipoli, The Castle, The Dressmaker, The Dry, The Man from Snowy River, Muriel's Wedding, The Dish, Two Hands, Proof, Australia, of course, and Anyone But You. You know what I really realized making this list? Movies don't take place in Australia anymore. A lot of these are like old movies, 80s, 90s films that I have never heard of. Obviously, except for Australia and Anyone But You. And Mad Max. I'm kind of out on all these movies. I've never heard of them.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think I saw Crocodile Dundee as a kid when it came out, but the rest of these, I'm with you. It's like I have no idea what those are. So, for me, it's not the best movie that's on here, but I am going to go with the Rover just because I really appreciated how well they made me feel like I was there and utilized the scenery and the landscape. So that's what I'm going to go with.
Dang. Have you ever done that before? Have you ever gone with the movie of the episode?
I don't think I have. I don't know. I can't think of when I would have.
159 episodes in and we finally broke it. The straw that broke the camel's back.
Michaud did it, man. Animal Kingdom guy. Maybe that's what I should pick is Animal Kingdom because that takes place in Australia. So, yeah, we'll go with that. We'll go with
too
both
late.
of those.
You've scribed the Rover on stone forever. I'm I'm gonna go with the movie I mentioned earlier. I'm going with Furiosa: Mad Max Saga. I just bought the Steelbook. The 4K Steelbook just came in the mail today. Nice. I will be watching it for a third time tonight. I genuinely think it's a masterpiece. And while it isn't specific, like this takes place in Australia, and you really need to know that, it is vast, and it is like biblical sized storytelling in a biblical sized wasteland that I think can only be accomplished in Australia. So that's what I'm going with. A little recency bias there. Sorry, not sorry. Okay. A24 ranking for the Rover. I feel like I like it more now that we've talked about it more.
That's good. I'm happy to hear that. I am going to go with an A-24.
Whoa. Wow.
Yeah. Did you think I'd go higher or lower?
I thought you were going to go lower. That's quite high. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you. Like I was high on this coming into this conversation, but then as we've been talking about it, it's like, man, that really was an effective film. I really enjoyed it. Like it was good.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the more that I think about it, the more that I talk about it, it's really interesting because we talk about all these moments that are like so intense or visceral or require gunfire. Mm-hmm. Large portions of this film are just like consoling a man who doesn't have his car. Like literally we're doing crossfades and cutaways and we're like staring off into the distance, or we're just like from the very, very, very start, we just sit with Guy Pearce for like 3 minutes in his car before anything happens in the movie. And I think that's something special that the movie accomplishes well. I'm going to go with a B+ 24. I don't think it's quite on the A level. I do think like thematically, it's got a lot of things we didn't talk about regarding like brotherhood, justice, friendship, obviously, what pets mean to people. So I think there's a lot of good stuff baked in there. Absolutely a movie where if someone was like in 6 months or 9 months was like, yo, should I watch The Rover? I'd be like, I'll watch it with you. Like, let's fire it up. I would love to watch it again.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. I think this now enters the lexicon of like underrated A24 films, at least for me.
100%.
It's like it's something that I would bring up for sure. It's like, you probably haven't heard of this. You should check out The Rover. Like it's great.
Yeah. We got to do an episode on like top 10 most underrated A24 flicks.
Yeah, without a doubt.
I think that's what we got to do.
Everything Everywhere All at Once, number 1.
Yeah. After Sun, number 1 most underrated A24 movie. Closing thoughts on The Rover? I'm
just very happy that I still love David Michôd as a director. I was worried I wouldn't like it.
Yeah.
It's like I was worried Animal Kingdom was a one-off. It's like, oh fuck, if this isn't good, I'm gonna be bummed. So very happy to say I'm 2 for 2 on David Michôd.
Oh, you'll have to live that stress again when Wizards comes out.
I know.
Why is it called The Rover? Is it because Guy Pearce's character is roving through Australia looking for his car?
That's how I took it. Yeah, okay. But then obviously there's also like
the double meaning.
Like, was his dog named Rover? Like, who knows? You know what I mean? There's just so much that we don't know.
I don't know. Good questions for sure. Next week on the pod, we're talking about Sing Sing. That's the plan, right? Do you have showtimes for Sing Sing yet?
I do actually.
Oh,
yeah.
Great. So let it be known. I'm banging the gavel. We're talking about Sing Sing next week.
We're doing it. Yeah, we're doing it. I saw some official showtimes. So I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited. It's like, because you've been talking about this for a while, just like singing its praises, pardon the pun, but like, I'm so excited to watch this finally. It just feels like it's been forever that I've been hearing about it in the best way. So I can't wait to experience it.
Yeah, I saw this movie all the way back in March at South by Southwest. I just saw it for a second time a few weeks ago. Nice. Made a YouTube video about it if you want to know my thoughts. I don't think it's like a mystery to anybody what I feel about Sing Sing. And I'm so excited to have like a meaningful conversation about this film, like break it down, because I haven't had the chance to do that with anybody yet. And I think it's going to be really good. I kind of don't like movies that I really hype up because most of the time you don't meet me on my level, except for After Sun, I will say.
Well, I think it's most of the time you pick stuff like Maestro, you know what I mean? And like no one's going to meet you on your level for that. So.
Okay, we should have ended the pod a minute ago. Holy cow. I was this close to getting out without any Maestro.
You almost made it.
Damn it.
Yeah, you should have reined it in. let us know what your guys' thoughts are on the Rover. We're on Twitter and Instagram at 24 minutes of A24. We're also on YouTube, where you can subscribe to us there and watch us talk about these movies. Thank you, everyone, for your support. We really appreciate it. We'll see you next week. I am Ben Lawhorn.
And I am Ethan Simi. Spring break forever, bitches.